We've gone live. Nice and quick as always. So I'll do the introduction and I'll bring you in, Carolyn. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us, whether live or catching a replay. We appreciate you all. Have you ever tried meditation and not gotten very far? Or maybe you've been curious and never even tried it. Perhaps you're full of questions such as why meditate? What's in it for me? How do you calm those racing thoughts? How can I find time to meditate? We'll be addressing these questions and also discovering more about energy medicine and how it can serve you. My guest on the show today also specialises in the menopause and has her own unique take on how to navigate it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show Carolyn Ann Sykes, a brand new guest as well. So thanks for joining us, Carolyn.
Thanks for having me.
Raise your gaze. I like that.
Yeah, so that's a new business name that kind of came to me back in 2020 when I had my baby. I had my baby during the first lockdown. And so I didn't really notice too much about the lockdown because I was on maternity leave and my whole world was taken up with this new little life. And I was walking him on the common one day and I was just looking down at his buggy. And then all of a sudden I just looked up and I noticed the sky, and it was the most uplifting moment. And all I did was raise my gaze, but my entire energy changed. And I just thought, there's something really powerful about that. And there was a racehorse called Raise Your Gaze many years ago that I used to look after in one of my jobs in racing. So the words raise your gaze had always stuck with me. And then that moment was like an epiphany moment of raising your gaze. And I just thought it applies to so many things. You raise your gaze, raise your frequency, raise your energy, raise your vibration, raise your expectations, raise your standards. You know, it's really about raising the bar.
Amen to all that. Yeah, I love that. I love that name, Raise Your Gaze. It's what I've been doing lately as well. It's been a long time in coming. You know, I've been looking down for too long. Now it's time to look up.
Definitely.
So, Carolyn, I wonder if you could give me and the viewers, like, what's your background? How did you get into the spiritual practice and the healing work, the wonderful work that you do today?
Right. Well, it started when I was a child. So as a child, I was always very attuned to the metaphysical side of life already. I was always fascinated by the sky, stars, the planets. When I was 5 years old, I asked my mum for the Gustav Holst The Planets music, classical music, for my birthday present.
When you were
and
five?
We used to have to, when I was 5, yeah.
Yeah.
We had to listen to that in the car every day going to school. So it's always been there. And then as I grew up, I just assumed that everyone thought like me, that everybody knew about energies and, you know, this kind of, there's more than what we can see with the naked eye. And as I got into my teens, I started getting really interested in witchcraft and white magic. So I started doing spells with the moon and the ocean and, you know, just natural things like with oils and crystals and all of that type of stuff. And then when I was 18, I met my first Reiki master and I learned Reiki quite quickly after experiencing it. And at the time, again, I just assumed everyone would want to know about this. So I started a business, but all I had to offer was Reiki. And not that many people knew what it was or were that interested. And so I went on and trained in various other therapies then so that I could offer more. So massage was my next step. And then when people would come and have a massage, which was very popular, I would introduce them to the Reiki and, you know, tell them what crystals they needed for their sleep or, you know, all of that type of stuff. And it all just went from there, really.
Right. That's cool. Yeah, it's Reiki's such a great one to start with, isn't it? Such a great foundation for energy work and raising your awareness, lifting the veil, so to speak.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's so quick and easy to learn as well. And it can be used in conjunction with and as a foundation for all of the other therapies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And was meditation always the foundation of your spiritual work, or did that come a little bit later? I suppose it's one of the same thing, isn't it? Once you
Yes. So through the Reiki path, I was introduced to mindfulness.
Yeah.
And I've always seen the Reiki path as a way of life, not just a treatment that you do from time to time. it's a way of being. So we have the 5 precepts, just for today, will not worry. Just for today, will not anger. Honor my parents, elders, and teachers. Earn my living honestly and show respect to every living thing. So we live by these principles and we live in the now. It's a very mindful and compassionate way of living. And so that grows and develops you spiritually. And it's all been, the people I've met along the way that have inspired me to do more and more. So Barefoot Doctor was one of my biggest influences. And through him, I learned various other meditation techniques as well. So meditation was always something I was doing daily for myself, whilst learning more and offering more. And then meditation's always been the backbone of it all. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the questions I got when I was advertised this live stream on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and somebody asked the question, like, if you can't measure meditation objectively, how do you know it's been a successful meditation? How do you know how can you improve it, etc.? And I thought, I kind of get what he's saying. I kind of understand the question, but I give an answer to him, but I'd love to hear your take on that.
Okay. Well, I think that there is in a different realm, first of all. So we've got the realm of the science and the mind, which is a very practical realm where everything can be measured and quantified, and you can do double-blind trials and get the same results over a mass group of people. Whereas meditation is more about coming out of that paradigm and into more, it's a more direct experience of reality. So there's a reality that's always present, whether we notice it or not. And most people don't notice it because they're so in their minds and they're so focused on thinking about what they're doing and what's coming up next, that they're not actually directly experiencing the presence of now. And when you directly experience the presence of now, you're in your awareness, you're not in your mind. So there's an instant experience of the mind will stop when you notice the present moment and you notice what you're aware of.
Yeah.
But then in a meditation session, you might actually have a very busy mind that particular day. But you might not say that particular meditation sit-in was very successful. But then later in the day, because you did it, something you might normally have reacted to, you now don't react because you cleared that stress earlier in the day. Does that make sense?
Perfectly. It does, yes. Yeah. And I reckon you can sleep better if you've got a daily meditation practice, because your mind and your brain is defragging when you're meditating. So if you don't have that practice, it's going to pick when you're trying to get to sleep. It's going to bring up all scenarios, and that can keep you awake at night. And as I was saying,
100%.
how do you quantify? How do you measure awareness? How do you measure consciousness, presence? How do you do that? I don't think you can.
I don't think you can quantify it scientifically. You can only measure it in your own life experience, and you can look back at the person you were to who you are today and see that on the whole, you're more peaceful, you're more in the now, you're more, you're less reactive and more compassionate as a person who's growing in this way.
Do you go into meditation? I mean, there's lots of different types of meditation. Do you go into meditation with a focus or expecting to get something or hoping to get something, or do you just do it because you can and you want to?
I just do it because I love it.
Yeah, I'm the same. If I get something, it's a bonus, and if I don't, I have no expectation. I used to years ago, not now. I'm like, I'm doing this because I can.
Yeah, like when I learned, there was lots of different meditations I learned along the way. But when I was, say, like in my early 20s, I was doing it to get something.
Yeah.
If I meditate, then I'll get a miracle of some kind, or then I'll be able to manifest, or then I'll be able to attract abundance or something like this. Whereas now, over all the years, it's just become my favorite part of the day. And then after having a baby, life got very busy. So the opportunities to meditate became fewer, but I still take the opportunity as soon as it's there every day.
Yeah. So when you're saying that, so presumably you're a wife or you have a partner, you're a mother, you've got a business, you've got client work, you've got a home life, you've got friends, and meditation must be essential for you to keep your sanity, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see how people get overwhelmed,
Yeah.
and I find that I'm so blessed. I feel so grateful that I had these practices anchored in before I actually became a mother. Because, once you become a mother, it's like once that baby wakes up in the morning, that's your day. It's relentless. And
Yeah.
then perhaps, like, people will say to you, you sleep when the baby sleeps. So say the baby has a nap. And if your mind is racing and you're still thinking of all the things you've got to catch up and do once the baby's asleep, you might go and try and sleep then during that nap time. And then you might just be falling asleep as they wake up again.
Yeah.
And it's just this relentless hamster wheel. So, yeah, having had that established practice beforehand, it would always be my priority. So as soon as the baby slept, I would meditate straight away, then get on with my list of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. And sometimes, there's an expression, sometimes you've got to slow down in order to speed up. So, for
Oh, yeah.
example, these days, if I want to start projects, my mind's not full of stuff, so I'll just do it. I'll just birth
Yeah.
things. Whereas in my head, like it was years ago, was full of stuff. You procrastinate.
Yeah.
You're doing lots of things, but not being productive. Whereas
Yeah.
meditation can help with that. Yeah.
Because you know what you just said to me there about how I've got all of this aspects of life happening all at once.
Yeah.
What I'm able to do is be totally present in each moment because of the meditation practice, So it doesn't matter how many things I've got to do that day. I'm just totally 100% present with each one as it's happening. And that instills a level of calm into all of it,
Yeah, that's right. It helps keep your sanity as well.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody watching this and they've maybe tried meditation, didn't know if they were doing it right, that maybe couldn't calm their mind, do you have any tips, encouragement, any sort of signposts for them, any guidance?
Yeah. So the way I always teach meditation is by saying that it's not about clearing your mind, it's about being aware of the present moment. That's all it is. And actually, when you notice now, so everyone can do it now, you can literally just notice your chair. Notice all the points of contact between your body and the chair. Notice the floor underneath you is holding you up. Notice your breathing. You don't have to do anything to change any of it. You're just becoming aware of it. So you're just tuning into reality. And the reality is that peace is every moment. Peace is the eternal now. So there's, probably a lot of thinking happening, but sometimes it's even just noticing, oh, I'm thinking. Nothing I have to do about it. Just becoming aware. This moment, there's a lot of thinking happening. And in other moments, there won't be so much.
Yeah.
And the other piece is, I liked what you said right at the beginning when you were introducing me and you had that list of questions. And I was thinking of the answers to all of them as you were saying them.
Yes.
When I was taught to meditate by a particular meditation teacher, which was Sandy Newbegin, I don't know if anyone's heard of Sandy Newbegin. He's an Ashaya monk and he wrote some books about and created these meditation methods, mind calm, body calm, and calm cure. Yeah. And I'm trained in those methods. When he taught me to meditate, he said, if I could give you a magic wand and you could ask for anything, what would you ask for? And at that time, I said money. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay, how much money? So I said, as much money that I would never need to worry about money again. Okay. And he said, if I could wave this magic wand right now and grant you that wish, how would that make you feel? And I said, it would make me feel free. And he said, so freedom is what you want, not money. And freedom is what meditation will give you. Every moment you tune into the reality of now, you're free. And so that became my driver, my motivation to prioritize this practice. And it's when it becomes a priority, there's no question mark over it. There's no question of, am I going to meditate today? Will I find the time? It's my priority. It's the first thing I do. And it's what gives me my heart's greatest desire, which is to feel free in every moment. And then money's a bonus on top, not the kind of chasing goal.
Yeah, that's right. I know before a couple of, I think it was yesterday, times all sort of merges into one, but I think I posted something about the Muji quote. He's saying, don't fight the mind. And he said, why don't we talk about that? And so what does that mean to you? Don't fight the mind. How can that help people?
Yeah, so there's different levels to our being. There's the physical, the mental, the emotional, and then the awareness. So if we're fighting the mind, we're on the mind level, whereas true meditation is engaging your awareness. So it's really simple, but it's so profound and powerful. When we engage our awareness, we're actually not thinking. So there's no need to fight the mind. There's no need to waste our energy fighting the mind. Does that make sense?
Perfectly, yes. You become the observer, and once
Yes.
you're the observer, the thoughts have been observed and they'll pass through.
Yeah.
And they'll change of their own accord. They might not be very pleasant, but you're taking your power back on. You want to step back and observe.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, it's like stepping off the roundabout, isn't it? Off the merry-go-round.
Completely. Yeah. And what you resist persists. So if you fight in the mind, you're just creating even more thoughts. And ultimately, most of suffering comes from thinking. It doesn't come from the direct experience of what's happening. It comes from our resisting our thinking about it. So if we can step out of the mind altogether, we can reduce our suffering dramatically.
Yes. Yeah. And not to believe our thoughts, and that thoughts and feelings and emotions are, different sides of the same coin. And, we attach stories to them. Those stories can make us suffer. I'm feeling anxious today, so that means something's going to happen at work. I'm going to get wrong for doing something, and then it's just stories are spinning and makes us feeling more anxious. And then it's just compounds. Yeah.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and so what do you do to meditate? Do you put earphones on, listen to ocean waves? Do you do guided meditation, or do you just sit and be? Or does it vary?
I have got various different practices, but the main practice is sitting in silence. Okay. It's just about being so filled up with now that there is no thought. And so I could be doing it as I'm driving. I could be doing it now. I am doing it now as we're talking, but the sitting practice is silent.
Yeah.
And it's about going inside. Whereas if we use sound, smell, sensations, it actually pulls our attention back out again into the surface mind.
Yeah.
So I find guided meditations are better for relaxation rather than meditation. I find that meditation is, yin and yang.
Yeah.
It's about going in, the yin, whereas the yang is the outward focus. And that's like, life is so yang. We need to cultivate more yin. So it's bringing our attention onto the inside, where the silence. We use an analogy in this particular meditation technique about the ocean. So the ocean surface is choppy and stormy, and that's the surface mind. But if you drop an anchor down to the bottom, it's deep stillness and silence. And that is literally what our mind is. It's still and silent at its core. But when we're living with our attention turned outwards, we're bumped up to the surface all the time, where all the chaos and thinking is. But we just got to drop beneath that and find the true stillness is already in there. We haven't got to make it happen. It's there. It's just waiting for us.
Yeah, and that's when the magic can happen. The insights may pop in, the wisdom. Even if it doesn't happen there and then, it might, as you're going about your day, something pops in your mind while you're having a shower or going for a walk, or, whatever it might be. That's when the magic happens. Or you just feel at peace. You just think, God, I feel so calm and centered, and and as you said earlier, reacting with a bit more compassion and understanding instead of jumping off the deep end.
Yeah.
So I hope if anyone's watching this, you've been inspired to either start a meditation practice or pick it up where you've left off, because it does pay dividends. It's free and it's good for you on so many levels. We've got a lot to talk about today. So I know you also wanted to talk about energy medicine. So what does energy medicine mean for you, and what sort of practices do you embark on?
Well, my main practice currently is acupuncture.
Right.
I practice Chinese medicine. And as you know, it began with Reiki. And so the way I kind of decipher between the two is that Reiki's like a light that's on and the light goes everywhere. Whereas with acupuncture, you've got a laser beam and you're directing it to focus where you know, as the practitioner of Chinese medicine, you use your skill to focus it in a direct beam. So so Chinese medicine is all based in the balancing of yin and yang and the root cause of any kind of ailment or suffering. So if we think of a tree, you got the roots and the branches.
Yeah.
And so symptoms are the leaves on the branches, and most of the modalities out there are just looking at the leaves and trying to change the branches, whereas Chinese medicine's always looking at the roots. And so the root cause is generally an organ. So we look for the root cause organ that's out of balance and balance the yin and the yang of that organ. And then a whole myriad of symptoms that may be occurring that the patient thinks are totally unrelated all fit into this one pattern. So like, say, for example, the liver. Okay, if the liver's out of balance, and we're actually in the springtime now, which is the liver season. So when the liver's out of balance, we might experience headaches. We might experience the type of insomnia where you wake up during the night and can't get back to sleep. You might have angry outbursts. You might have unexplained aches and pains. All of these kind of things can be traced back to the liver. And so as an acupuncturist, my only job is to balance your liver. And all of those other symptoms will go away because they're just like a warning sign. The body's red flag. Something's up with my liver. I'm trying to get your attention this way and this way and this way and this way. Whereas, you know, we can waste a lot of time chasing symptoms otherwise. But I find it's very effective to really just peel it right back to the root.
Right, fascinating. And those needles, those fine needles, do they go in far into the body, or does it vary depending on where they are in the body? How does it work?
It varies. Okay, so I do a lot of treatment off the hands and feet, legs and arms. That's where you'll find the major source points for the energy channels. They're like your blood vessels, but they're for the energy, and they all link back to one of the organs. And so the points along the channel, you've got the major source points for each channel on the hands, arms, legs and feet. So do a lot of treatment there. But the whole body's mapped out on the hand, the face, the ear, the head. You know, so you can even just take one body part and treat the whole body just from that one body part. And my personal preference of how I like to treat is also off the back. So I can get to every major organ off the back. So the bladder channel runs either side of the spine, and every major organ point is along that bladder channel. And so a lot of people will come to me for treatment and have their backs treated, and they'll say, I've never had my back treated by an acupuncturist before. You know, and so that's my personal preference. And I think that came from my massage background. I would massage my patient and then I'd leave a few needles in at the end of the massage.
Right. So how long does a typical acupuncture session last? Is there such a thing as a typical one?
Yes. Yeah. So the initial consultation's an hour. And we do a lot of talking about the health history, and I'll ask a lot of questions to decipher which organ it is that's most out of balance. And then the treatment itself, the needles are only in for 20 minutes.
Right.
So the follow-ups are quite quick. But then because I do many other things around it, I've got the meditation practice and other things like coaching. So a follow-up session can be longer if the patient wants to talk about other things and do other practices at the same time.
Right. And do you feel the energy shifts? You know, like say when you're putting the needles into a body part, can you feel the shifts as well as a practitioner?
Yes, definitely. So mostly we take the pulse. We take the pulse before and after the treatment. So there should always be a change in the pulse from the treatment. But I remember when I was studying and we had to do 30 hours a year of clinical observations. So we'd have to go and sit and observe an acupuncturist at work throughout our course. And I'd sit with my acupuncturist in Newbury for like a 12-hour day. And I said to him one day, you can really feel the energy shift in the room, can't you? Once the needles go in. And he was quite amazed that I'd noticed that. He was like, you can feel that. And I was like, yeah, it's like they come in and their energy's all like frazzled. And sometimes you could hear it. It was like a ee sound when they came in, and that was all the thoughts and stress in their
Yeah.
field. And then as soon as the needles are in, it just goes to this really kind of blissful feeling where you and the patient both feel like you're floating.
Yeah. Is a side note, do you do readings?
No.
Right. Mm. I'm just curious because when you're that sensitive to energy, normally you can,
Yeah.
the skills you can transfer. So I just wondered, yeah. Could
Well,
be,
you never know. It could be my next step.
yeah, it's there for you to look at if it's an avenue you wanted to go down. It's not for
Yeah.
everyone, but yeah, just curious. And what sort of things have you witnessed personally with your clients that have been healed, that have magically disappeared?
So magically disappeared. A lot of back pain. Patients will come in, they can't stand straight, they can barely
Yeah,
walk. And in those cases, it's usually 2 treatments and they're completely back to 0 out of 10 out of pain. Migraines, people who've suffered with migraines for 40 plus years, within one treatment plan. I like to do, courses of treatment,
yeah,
and I'll do a treatment plan for the patient. And within the treatment plan, the migraines cease and never come back. Fertility, helping people to get pregnant when they've exhausted all other opportunities and avenues. Then definitely the menopause and all of the symptoms that go with that.
yeah.
So sleep's a big one. Anxiety, insomnia, the sweats, all of those, the brain
Yeah,
fog, all of that.
you ladies have certainly got the rough end of the deal at times, haven't you? With all the things you have to navigate. Having children and periods and the menopause and all the rest of it. It's
Yeah.
they say women are the stronger sex, and in many ways they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like an internal strength, isn't it? Like you put a man against a woman and the man is always going to be physically more strong, but then perhaps it's this yin again.
yeah,
The strength is actually in the stillness and the softness,
yeah,
and it comes from within rather than that external strength.
yeah. That's right. That's right. I know you said you also specialise, and you touched on it there before, the menopause. Am I right in thinking you've got like a unique approach, as it were,
Yeah.
or more holistic? And
Yes. I've created my own method. I call it Be More Yin. Okay.
Right.
I can't think of a better name for it. It's probably not the best name in terms of marketing because nobody really knows what I'm talking about when I say it. But from my perspective, it's just about being more yin. It's being more still, being more in that feminine energy, taking time for stillness, which for me is meditation, but some people don't like it if I try and, talk about meditation. They've got an instant barrier that comes up. And so I just call it stillness, and it's generally being alone. Like you could go for a walk in nature alone and go within. Whereas if you're walking the dog, you've still got your attention turned outwards. You're still focusing on what the dog's doing and not what you're feeling inside. So there's 3 elements to my menopause method. The first element is Chinese medicine. So there's an extensive consultation. If they're not local to me, say we're doing it over Zoom, there's acupressure points that are prescribed and lifestyle advice. And then there's coaching accountability to make sure they're actually putting the lifestyle advice practices into practice. Then there's the stillness piece, learning to be more yin.
Yeah.
And then the third element is feminine energetics. It's learning how to relate to the world from your feminine power.
Right. So what inspired you to work with menopause? Was it because a lot of your clients were suffering? Do you have family members?
Yeah. So as an acupuncturist, we've got extensive training in the menopause anyway.
All right.
So it's something we know a lot about. So all acupuncturists do. So if people are watching this and they don't live anywhere near me, they can still go see an acupuncturist and get a lot of help with the menopause. And then I took it one step further. I did an advanced Chinese medicine course, and that gave me much deeper knowledge. And from there, it just gave me such passion to help these women, because with this knowledge that I've got and with Chinese medicine, the shift can be very quick. And actually, you know, the suffering is unnecessary. The amount of suffering I see, I find a lot of it is probably not necessary if they know the right tools and have got the right help.
Yeah, you do. You do hear a lot of women who as you say, suffer in a myriad of ways. And there's
Yeah,
perhaps not a lot of knowledge. Well, there's knowledge out there, but if you go to the mainstream
I
medicine,
know. Oh God,
it's, yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's the wrong knowledge. I mean, I call it misinformation. And I hate that word, because as an alternative practitioner, you kind of get labeled as a misinformationist yourself.
yeah.
So I really don't like that word. But I would say that a lot of the Western media attention on the menopause is propaganda, is very negative. I have younger women coming in for treatment petrified about going to the menopause. And it's actually a very empowering time. You know, you mentioned about being a woman and all these things we have to go through. If we can actually work with them, we can
Mhm.
harness them as great points of power. They're not to be feared.
Right. So what do you mean by harness these points of power? Like forgive
So
me for
I might just need to plug my phone in. Bear with me a sec. I thought this might happen. Okay, so in Chinese medicine, we talk about the major gateways in a woman's life. The first one is puberty. So it's basically times when the hormones are changing.
right.
They're
Okay.
seen as gateways, times of transformation. So when we're living as a young girl and then we become a woman, we know at that point we can't live like a little girl anymore. We know we've fundamentally changed and life's going to be very different going forwards because we've transformed from a little girl into a woman. So that's the first point of power. And I think in the West, there isn't any rite of passage to teach young women how to be women in their power. And so, you know, it can be a very disempowering time for a lot of young girls who, you know, they're looking at social media, they're comparing themselves to unrealistic standards of,
Mhm.
you know, everything. So that's another topic in itself. Then there's the next transitional gateway is when we become a mother. So I saw it when I became a mother. I can't live my life the way I used to. It's just not there anymore. You know, it's not, my day's not my own to just go and do what I want to do. It's all got to be done around a new life. And that's another transformation. And so when we transform then from maiden into mother, that's the next point of power. But the childbirth itself can go in a very when we give birth, it's such a powerful moment in time that we can actually heal our bodies of a lot of things that have been plaguing it in the years leading up to the pregnancy and childbirth. So that is another point of power where we can actually harness it if we know how to do it properly and make it like, I'm the healthiest I've ever been now. I'm the strongest I've ever been, you know? And if we don't know how to harness it, it can go the other way. And women can become very depressed and anxious and, you know, actually suffer.
Yeah, I know my ex, after she had our son, she became extremely depressed afterwards.
Yeah. Because you've lost who you were before.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, that identity is not available to you anymore. And you have to become someone new. You become the mother. And then when we go to menopause, it's the same thing, but there isn't such an obvious difference. So a lot of women are trying to live the same way that they did before, but the body's telling them you can't. You can't be that woman anymore. You've got to slow down. You've got to spend time going within. You've got to discover who you actually came to this planet to be and live that. And we're going to stop you if you don't go with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And also, in an ideal situation, a mother would not only have, the dad and the grandparents, but also the aunts and uncles and a whole community, like
Yeah,
to look after the child, so it all doesn't fall onto the mother. Uh,
exactly. And that's
because
it, you know, in the motherhood in today's society, we're just sort of left to it on our own. We don't have the community anymore. And then when we get to menopause age, we've got teenage children who are going through their own hormonal shifts. And then we've got aging parents to look after. We might be becoming to the peak of our careers as well. At the same time, our energy steeply declines.
Right.
So you've got all that happening at once. And if we were living in these tribal communities like we're designed to, again, all of that would not fall to one woman. It would all be shared, you know. So I think society at large is responsible for a lot of women's suffering. But even within all that, we can still do it. We can still prioritize stillness. We can still carve out a little bit of time every day to go within, and we can surf that wave.
Yeah. And you can sometimes use technology to help you. For example, I use a program called Zen 12 meditation. You can stick some headphones on, and the binaural beats will take you down in 12 minutes to give you the equivalent of an hour's worth of deep meditation. If you want to go 20 minutes, it'll give you 2 hours worth, and
oh my
you're
God,
feeling refreshed. Yeah. So who hasn't got 12 minutes to the day if there's something wrong if you haven't? So you can use that as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think by the time women get to the menopause, they're so used to putting everyone else before themselves. They actually feel guilty for taking that 12 minutes for themselves. But the body it's unrelenting, you know, it's relentless, it's unyielding. It won't let you not put yourself first anymore.
Yeah.
But I love that because, you know, Barefoot Doctor created that music as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So people can listen to Barefoot Doctor's amazingly uplifting, amped tracks and get the same result.
Yeah, I listened to that all the time. I couldn't at first when he first passed because it was just too sad. But now I can. You know, I just love it. I listen to them frequently, either with headphones on or just in the background. As you see, it's so profound, uplifting, and it really does lift your energy. You start your day with a spring in your step.
Yeah, I would put the headphones on and take the baby for a walk and listen to that all the way around the walk. You know, and I feel him more present now than I ever did. I don't know about you.
No, when he first passed, I heard him a lot. I was, you know, when you're going through grief, you can quite often, it opens your channel up, and I saw him and heard him a lot. He was often popping into my meditations, and then he kind of come into, not to say goodbye, but he came into a meditation, and his energy kept sort of diffracting off all like that. And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "I'll be going higher soon. You know, there's a process started." So he says, "I'll be going to higher planes soon."
Wow.
So you'll not be hearing as much from me moving forward, and I haven't.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
So do you have obviously have a practice where you see people one-to-one physically? Do you do any groups online, any Zoom calls or any that sort of thing as well?
I do. Yeah, I run my programs in private Facebook groups, all on Facebook Live. And then the recordings are there for them to watch forever as well. And I've got some free groups where I do free masterclasses and free trainings quite regularly. And then I've got paid programs, which are evergreen. So there's a meditation course that I'm really proud of that I created back in 2021. That's all available, 11 modules. And then what I do as well is I add to them as the years go on. So I'll be adding a new module to that one soon. So the ones who are already in there will get a new live module, and anyone who wants to join it now for the live module will get all the replays as well. So I kind of, and I've got some shorter ones, some longer ones. And as I say, I've got some free ones as well.
Cool. So there's something for everybody. If someone isn't familiar with you prior to watching this, they can, start to consume your free content to get a sense of how you work, and then they can go further if they want to. So that's awesome. Yeah. Are you going to provide links to those in the description, respectively? Like once we've.
Yeah, I can do. So what I'll do is I'll provide a link to my free group, The Energized Woman, and there's about 13 masterclasses in there already. So if they want to binge watch some content just to, as you say, see how I work and get a feel for me. And then after that, if they want to do a paid program, there aren't necessarily links. They just message me and then I just add them to the Facebook group.
So what sort of transformations could people expect going through some of these masterclasses? Because at the end of the day, people are kind of sold on, even if it's a free course, they're sold on results, aren't they? Like what sort of things can they expect?
Well, I would say they could expect to receive their heart's greatest desire in the form of the essence of it first.
Yeah.
And then obviously that opens up the, you know, the receptive channel for them to receive the physical version of it. But it's like once you've got the essence of it, because everything we say we want is because we think it's going to make us feel a certain way. So it might be joy, peace, love, health, whatever people really want physically is because they know if they get it, they'll feel a certain way. So we go to the feeling first and we live from that feeling. And then not only the thing we thought we wanted, but also everything else on that vibratory frequency can come to us at the right time.
Wow. So if you're watching this, get yourself into one of Carolyn's groups and fill your boots. You've been a great guest, Carolyn. I've enjoyed this chat. I didn't know what to
Thank
expect.
you.
It's been
Me too.
wonderful. Do you have any
Great.
final thoughts?
I think, my kind of thought on the menopause, because obviously that's the special subject, is that suffering is not necessary. And there is an entirely different way of understanding the menopause that's very empowering. And also it's for younger women as well. So it's not necessarily just for that age group. It's like as women, the younger we start doing these practices. So there's things that we can eat like bone broth and doing this meditation for 12 minutes every day. Little things we can start doing now that build up over time. And by the time you get to menopause, you might not even have a problem.
Well, that which is the ideal, isn't it? That's the absolute ideal.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine some women must dread it, especially if they've had a mother who suffered badly. They've seen it, and they think, "Oh God, I don't want to experience that."
Yeah. And a lot of career women are afraid they're going to lose their edge and lose their titles, and they're worried they might not be able to focus in a presentation, or all of that again comes from the mind. It's future thoughts and might not ever happen, but also with a few little daily tweaks probably wouldn't happen.
It's funny, like when you said that, it made me think. Before I had my major surgery, I was worried that I wouldn't be the same again with all these bits taken out of us. And, people told us, "Oh, you need your gallbladder and you need this," but over time, I'm probably more powerful now than I was 3 years ago. It took a while to get there. So yeah, it's as you say, it's mind over matter. Keep backing yourself, keep believing in yourself, and keep moving forward.
That's it. The mind is so powerful.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, Carolyn, it's been a delight.
Yes, it has. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you're catching the replay, pop your questions, your comments, your feedback into the comments box below and click on Carolyn's group and give it a try. Okay, much love to you all. Bye for now until the next one.
Bye.